Edward Big Ed Sanders might not be a name you often hear in discussions about the greatest boxers in history, but it should be. He made boxing history at 22 years old, and at one point was expected to be the heavyweight champion of the world. But after a blow to the head during one of his fights cut his life short, his name quietly faded into the past, and everything he'd accomplished faded with it. Big Ed Sanders was born Hayes Edward Sanders on March 24, 1930. He was born and raised in Watts, a neighborhood in South Los Angeles, California. Sanders was the oldest male child in his family. His family said he was a natural athlete, and at 12 years old, he was the size of an 18-year-old. When Sanders was 13, he started working out, but because it was the 1940s, most of the public gyms in Los Angeles were either segregated or didn't allow black people to join. So Sanders and his brother would work out at home. They put together a homemade weightlifting set by collecting cans and filling them with cement. Then they'd attach one can to each side of a steel bar, making a barbell they used for powerlifting and bodybuilding. By the time Sanders graduated from high school, he was 6'4", weighed 220 pounds, and dominated every sport he played. When he turned 18, Sanders enrolled at Compton Junior College. Here, people started calling him Big Ed because of his size and athletic abilities. He played center on the basketball team, end on the college football team, and was an accomplished track star. But boxing was where Sanders shined the most. And as a junior college heavyweight, he won the National Junior College Boxing Championships 2 years in a row. During the 1950s Junior College Boxing Championships in Utah, Sanders caught the attention of Idaho State University's boxing coach. And a year later, Sanders was awarded a full athletic scholarship to Idaho State. At Idaho State, Sanders never lost a boxing match, and he set a record for the most undefeated heavyweight fights in the school's history. Idaho State is also where Sanders met the woman who would later become his wife and the mother to his son. But in 1951, after just over a year of boxing with Idaho State, Sanders was drafted into the U.S. Army to fight in the Korean War. Sanders was told he'd have to stop boxing and leave school. Sanders' boxing coach suggested that instead of joining the Army, Sanders join the Navy, which had a boxing team. Sanders still had to leave school, but with the Navy he was able to continue his boxing career, and he won various Golden Glove tournaments all throughout the US and Europe. In 1952, with a record of 39 wins and 4 losses, Sanders qualified for the United States Summer Olympic Games in Finland. The Olympics were no challenge to Sanders, and he knocked out all 3 of his opponents before advancing to the final gold medal competition. His 4th and final match was against Swedish boxer Ingemar Johansson. It was reported by the LA Times that Ingemar Johansson was scared of Sanders' power punches after witnessing Sanders knock out his first 3 Olympic opponents. This explained why during the first round of the fight between Sanders and Johansson, Johansson circled the outside of the ring, avoiding Sanders at all costs. Johansson continued this strategy into the second and third rounds. Ingemar Johansson's lack of effort in the ring was so bad, he was called a disgrace by his country. The Swedish government was humiliated, and Johansson was denied his silver Olympic medal. Big Ed Sanders was declared the winner, and his Olympic victory made him the first African-American Olympic heavyweight boxing champion in history. He was 22 years old. Sanders returned to America a national hero, and the city of Los Angeles named a day in his honor. After the Olympics, Sanders decided to turn professional, ending his amateur boxing career with a record of 43 wins and 4 losses. As his decision to turn pro was announced, boxing commentators everywhere declared Sanders would most likely become the next world heavyweight boxing champion, and Sanders was ready to prove him right. In his first 8 months as a professional boxer, he fought 8 times, going 6-1 with 1 draw. And most of his wins didn't come as a surprise to boxing fans, as before all of his fights, Sanders was usually heavily favored to win. The fight on December 11, 1954 was no different. Everyone in attendance at the Boston Garden that night expected Sanders to win the matchup against New England heavyweight champion Willie James. But what they didn't know was that just hours before the fight, Sanders had complained of painful headaches and shoulder cramping. But instead of postponing the match, Sanders made the decision to go ahead with the fight anyway. For 10 rounds, Sanders and James traded heavy blows back and forth in an all-out brawl with both men taking punishment. Then, 25 seconds into the 11th round, Sanders was hit with a combination that sent him to the canvas, unable to breathe. Sanders lost consciousness immediately. He was carried out of the ring on a stretcher and taken to a hospital for an emergency operation to remove a blood clot from his brain. But the surgery was unsuccessful, and Sanders died 18 hours after the fight. He was 24 years old. 5 years after Sanders' death, in 1959, he was inducted into the Idaho State College Hall of Fame. And in 2012, Sanders was inducted into the El Camino Compton College Athletic Hall of Fame in California. No one knows what would have happened with Edward Big Ed Sanders' boxing career had his life not been cut short. But during his time here, he achieved something no one had done in history by becoming the first ever Black Olympic heavyweight boxing champion. And although his name may have faded with time, his achievements will be a part of boxing's history forever.